I might get in trouble for saying this, but sometimes we have to focus on what we know and not our emotions. There is a difference between what you know and your emotions. It is Saturday, you guys. I don't know what day you're watching this, but it is Saturday and I have gone to the gym already. Some of you who know me know that I've been training with a coach. It's been incredible. It's been like this phenomenal mental health journey and challenge. So I did that. It's been great. And every second Saturday I'm in studio recording. And I'm sharing this with you because on the Saturdays that I'm not recording, I've been seeing my spiritual coach and my teacher. And this is what has inspired today's episode. Yes, there is a difference between what you know and your emotions. So something I want to teach you today is that the same part of your brain that hosts dopamine, that feel-good hormone, also hosts the pain center of the brain. They overlap in different areas of the brain, which means as much as dopamine and the feel-good hormone can become addictive and we can crave things, we can also become addicted to our pain. This is, when you turn on the sad song and you allow yourself to sit in the pain and the melancholy and you feel good because you feel like someone understands you. That song gets you and you connect to it in your soul. I know what that feels like because I have done that so many times, whether it's like boosting my ego or whether it's just like crying to that song, being like, yes, you took the words right out of my mind. I don't know why we do this to ourselves, but we do it because, I think we feel connected. We feel connected. The tricky part is that it can become just as addictive as any other substance. And you need to know when to remove yourself from that pain and not feed into it so that you don't stay stuck. So today's topic is not really structured. In fact, I often have a book here and I always write notes and like study what I'm going to talk about and really want to have some structure for you. But today I just want to have an open-ended conversation and just allow it to free flow and see where it goes. And speak to what I learned when I was talking with my spiritual teacher, because anytime I'm with her, I self-reflect later and I look at self and I have realizations and I write it down on my phone and I'm like having these aha moments, and I want to share it with you today because I think it might be helpful. So why is it important to feel your emotions, but then also know what you know? And sometimes it's not so much feeling into those emotions. It's because, are you feeling your emotions from a space of healing, grief, growth, mourning? Or are you feeling your emotions from a victimized state? This is what I want us to look at today. And then, of course, the whole addictive piece to it. So there's a difference. If you are sad and you are crying, a great example of that for me was when I had been mourning the end of my marriage, or I've spoke about somebody else that I had met. There was so much grief connected to it, or even a death. But there is an understanding of what happened. And you are crying because that person is no longer in your life. And you are holding on to the memories and you think about them and you allow yourself to release it from a healthy space. And then there is crying and feeling your emotions from a victimized state. Why me? Why did this happen to me? This is awful. It's never going to get better. This type of stuff always happens to me. This is the way my life is. Like victimizing yourself so much that you stay in your own pity and grief. And even those words when you're saying that, my gosh, I have victimized myself in the past and I know I know my brain, I've come to know my brain. I am so good at sitting there and victimizing myself, and it's easy for me to falter to that state. It's easy for the human mind to falter into that state. We've been taught to self-victimize and seek out other pleasures as we're going through our pain versus learning to feel our feelings. So what I discovered, you guys, was as I was moving through my grief, there had been moments of victimization. Like, so much was happening at once that it was like, gosh, why is this all happening? But as I started to move towards the other end, let that pendulum sway to the other side of feeling into my feelings, it really allowed healing. And so why I say that there's a difference between feeling your emotions and knowing what you know is because if you know that you're acting from that victimized state, you need to take yourself out and pull yourself out of there and empower yourself. If you know that you've been listening to the same songs over and over again, watching the same reels that feed into the storyline that you've created in your mind that's keeping you stuck and keeping you victim, you need to stop doing it. You need to know what you know and not feel your emotions from that lens. I see a lot of my clients do this, and I speak to it not only from my own personal experiences, but from what I'm seeing from them, is they're watching reels that make them feel good because they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel validated, they feel like somebody can relate to them. They're watching TV, movies, listening to songs, talking to people about the same thing that they spoke to them about the week before in hopes of receiving validation. And all that's doing is keeping them stuck in their story, the story of the mind, the story of the pain, and not actually helping them thrive. So what I had done in my grief was I was like, okay, I'm done listening to this. I have a whole sad playlist. I need to remove that playlist. I'm like, empowerment songs. And I think I have a playlist that's called, My Becoming or something like that, or Stayin' Wild. As you know, this is the Stayin' Wild and Well podcast. To change my state, to start to feed back into my healing. So there is something to be said absolutely about feeling your feelings and your emotions. And then there is something to be said about knowing what you know and saying, not today, it's time to start taking care of myself and time to start moving forward and removing myself from that self-victimization and feel my feelings from a space of healing versus stewing in that addictive dopamine state, because like I said, the dopamine and the pain center overlap in the brain. So you gotta be careful because you're human. So no matter what, this can happen. You can go down that rabbit hole. The other thing I had learned was that when we are moving through pain, emotions, grief, again, I speak about this in so many other videos, is that we live from a space of the mind. We've been taught to live from the space of the mind, the egoic mind, the human within us. And it serves us in so many great ways, but we don't tap into our inner knowing and to our spirit. And what happens, what I've done most of my life, is I drag that spirit around and I don't talk to her enough to ask her what she needs. So as I was moving through so much emotion and pain, I knew that I needed support, but I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know how to ask. And then when I started getting good at saying hey, in a text message to a friend, I'm really struggling. I don't know what I need, but I do need help. It was like, well, how can anyone help me if I don't know what I need? But I don't know what I need because I never ask myself what I need. And I never ask myself what I need because I'm always so busy helping others and supporting others that I put myself last. Oh my God, why do I put myself last? And you start to map out this whole thing of oh my God, there's self-worth issues, or I'm not feeding into my own self and I'm not loving myself and I'm not taking care of myself in the ways I need. But we also haven't been taught to ask ourselves what we need. So instead, we could think that we are grieving because we are crying, because we are moving through things. We could think that we're actually feeling our emotions from a space that is healthy. But truly, if we're feeling our emotions from a space of the mind, what's probably happening, and maybe you can relate, is you're dragging that spirit around. Spirit and inner knowing, mine anyways. There are so many times where she was like, I just want to lay on the grass and look up at the sky and rest. And I'd be like, you've been crying for too long. Get your ass up. Let's go. You've been feeling for too long. You need to go to work. You need to do your life. You need to live. But then you're not actually allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, you guys. You're dragging that part around. It's like, I'm going to go eat this chocolate bar instead of having the nourishing meal. And I'm going to go and hang out with friends when all I want to do is take a warm bath. We need to practice. And now this is something new that you know, because like I said, today is all about feeling your emotions and knowing what you know. Tuning in and asking ourselves what we need. Because once we know what we need, when somebody is offering support to us, we've gotten so good at asking ourselves what we need. When we need that support, we could start to learn how to ask for it. And that is one of the biggest challenges we face in today's world and in society, is that we have a hard time asking for help because we don't know how to ask for it, because we don't actually know what we need, because we are so busy living a life from the space of the mind, from the space of distraction, from the space of helping everyone else other than ourselves, putting ourselves last, feeding into the dopamine, or being stuck in our victimization and our patterns and our cycles and the stories, that we don't pause long enough to tune in and ask, what do I need right now? So this entire video today for you is a couple of lessons to take away. One, there's a difference between feeling your emotions and feeling your emotions from a victimized state. Which one are you in? Two, it is so important for you to tap in and tune in and start to ask yourself what you need. And by doing so, when we ask ourselves what we need, we can then seek out the support that we so deserve because we know how to articulate it. I hope you could take something positive away from all of this today. I hope that if you're feeling overwhelmed by this in any sort of way, that you could take a step back and take a deep breath, long enough to allow yourself to feel and know what you know.